So you're on a spiritual path, you've gone through an awakening, and your consciousness continues to evolve. My name is Patrick Paul Garlinger. I'm an intuitive reader and spiritual author. And I've worked with countless people over the years, helping them connect with the divine inside, to continue to grow and develop, moving beyond blocks and limiting patterns and becoming their truest self. And over the years, I've seen certain patterns, signs that you are really transforming your consciousness and healing. The number one sign that somebody is truly grown, they're no longer bypassing their pain. They're willing to look inside at the painful stuff. They're not resorting to old techniques of numbing and avoidance. They're willing to face their shadows. And that process can be painful, absolutely. It can be really hard. And there may be a period of time after you've awakened where your curiosity and zeal for this newfound spiritual path take you away from the pain. They're giving you a sense of hope. You're excited. You feel more alive. That's wonderful. But at a certain point, you got to put down the videos, you got to put down the podcasts, you got to put down the books, and not fall into toxic positivity where you're just like, I'm happy all the time. And if I think about these things, I'm lowering my vibration. No, so much of the work involves going deep within to the many recesses of your psyche and facing your pain. That's number one. Number two, forgiveness. This word gets really misunderstood, but forgiveness is your ability to rewrite the past, to clear out the past. So much of what you're experiencing now is a product of prior experience. You perceive and in that way create the world based on what you already know. And so many of your prior interactions are the lens, the frameworks through which you perceive and interpret and therefore create the present moment. Your beliefs about how people should be, how the world should be, what makes people right, what makes people wrong, this is good, this is bad, all of that is your programming that has been installed in you through previous experience. And so the work of forgiveness, it's actually quite broad. It's not simply letting go of grievances with other people. It's letting go of the belief systems out of which those grievances were born, the thoughts and beliefs that you had in the past that led to, oh, this is why I am a victim, and this is why this was harmful to me. And so if you are doing the work, you are clearing the past. This is part of shadow work. This is part of meeting that moment of releasing those grievances and with them the thoughts and beliefs that then shape how you meet the present moment. And so then when you meet the present moment, it's a much more clear landscape. Doesn't come with the baggage of the past. Number three, you're finding a balance between present and future. So much of the path comes down to being present, being fully present. And what that means is that not only are you not worried about the future and anxious and uh, resentful or remorseful about the past, but you are here and now with a sense of gratitude, awareness of what's happening, and you're not interpreting that moment. You're not interpreting the now through the lens of the past. That's why forgiveness is so important. But you're seeing it much more clearly. And at the same time, you're willing to co-create and wanting to co-create with your soul, with the divine, to lead a beautiful life. And so you might have your eye on the future, possibilities. Where could you be going? The, the now is filled with incredible, infinite possibilities that will manifest in the future, that will come to fruition at some time in the future. And so you have this very healthy balance between being here in this present moment, being with the world without requiring and demanding that it change or interpreting it through the lens of the past, but also planning, taking action, listening to your intuition, feeling guided as you plant seeds and grow into the future. 4, you're getting really good at drawing boundaries. This is something that I've seen happen over the years with people that I read for. A lot of people really struggle with drawing boundaries. And even when you're on a spiritual path, and sometimes because you're on a spiritual path, you want to be kind, you want to be compassionate, you're feeling and believing a sense of oneness. We're equal, we're co-creating each other. I'm moving beyond separation. So how do I draw boundaries? And again, it's a sort of both and mentality. Yes, this other person and you are at your core the same divine beings, but you're also separate sovereign beings. And you need to learn, and you deserve to learn, to draw boundaries skillfully. And often what happens is another version of toxic positivity. When people struggle with drawing boundaries, they just withdraw. They don't want conflict. They don't want the emotional burden or consequence of drawing a boundary if somebody doesn't take it as well as you'd like. And so they just withdraw. And then this gets laid over as well. We're not vibing on, we're not on the same vibe anymore. No, you just need to draw a boundary. Somebody does something that feels very hurtful, disrespectful, negates your feelings. Sure, you can look inside at your own thought processes and examine, why does this bother me? And at the same time, you can say, hey, I would appreciate it if you, or I'm asking that you not do this thing because you deserve it. And what you really need to look at, and this goes back to looking at our shadows, is the part of you that really struggles with saying, this is what I need, I deserve it. And then if you react badly, I can handle this. And whatever is happening for you at having faced that boundary, when I've drawn it skillfully, that is your burden. That is your task. That's not my task. Many people don't learn to draw them skillfully. They feel like their boundaries have been crossed and crossed and crossed, and then they kind of burst out, and there's a lot of anger or frustration of like, I want you to stop, and that's unskillful. But when you draw them skillfully, with no emotional charge, very little emotional charge, I'm just like, okay, I really would appreciate it if you did this. No, I need this. And if you need to draw the boundary a little more firmly, so be it. You will feel such a sense of relief of like, I am honoring what I need in this moment. This need of mine is valid. I deserve to have somebody who doesn't mistreat me, ignore my needs, belittle me, invalidate me. I deserve to be treated differently. That is a very powerful step. You're really beginning to value who you are and that you're enough. And that whatever you're here to do is in some way or another going to happen, will express itself. Your gift, your reason for being, what you bring to the world just by virtue of being alive is enough. And it may not be showing up in conventional external accolades, titles, praise, fame, followers, whatever it might be that you typically measure success with. You just know, oh, I am enough. Whatever I'm doing, in whatever setting, I'm capable of being fully me. This goes back to presence. When you're present, fully you, in whatever setting. And that doesn't mean that you don't modify your behavior to be appropriate. You're in a professional setting, you're at work, you're going to behave in certain ways. You can still be you. You can still bring your essence to that space and not feel that you have to diminish yourself, you have to hide. When you can do that, then you know you're really transforming your consciousness. Your consciousness is really changing. And I remember that this was something I went through when I was a lawyer, which, a law firm is it can be a very conservative, it can be a very professional place. People can be very contained. And it's not like I was running around in, chanting mantras and, um, doing forgiveness prayers or sitting in there and meditating. But I didn't hide. I felt fully me in my engagements. I didn't feel a need to present myself in any way that felt artificial. I was just me in a professional setting. What you're doing, what's happening when you can be that way in the world is you're beginning to see yourself through the eyes of the divine. You're beginning to see yourself as the divine sees you, which is unbelievably beautiful. Beautiful, luminous, a gift to the world. And again, that doesn't mean that people are saying this to you. Nobody's saying, oh my God, you glow. Oh my God, you're amazing. Not about receiving external validation or affirmation. It's the inner confidence that comes with just knowing that you are enough just as you are. And you don't judge others for not being awakened. This is really important. One of the things that does happen after we've awakened is that we start to really recognize how much people are beholden to their egos, trapped by their emotional baggage. They're acting out old wounds, traumas, etc. And you now know, like, oh, it doesn't have to be this way. And there can be a tendency to want to separate and isolate for all the reasons I described. It's hard to be yourself with them. You don't necessarily feel recognized by them. You don't want to be called back into old ways of interacting that no longer feel true to you. But you have to remember, you were that person once. And it might not have been that long ago. It might have been 3 months ago, 6 months ago, even a year ago, that you were that person. You hadn't yet woken up. And somebody else might have been watching you who's awake and you just don't know it because you're at work, you're showing up, you're continuing to be professional, but you're not necessarily talking about this openly. And they see you and they're like, mm-hmm. So you want to remember this is some humility around this process. Humility is a really valuable, important quality on the spiritual path. It doesn't mean making yourself small, but it reminds you of how you are not here to judge where people are on their path. People wake up in their own time when they're ready. And if they haven't woken up, they're not ready. And that's not their fault. That's all in the plan for them and what they're here to do in this lifetime. And so remember, when you're judging them, it's part of you that's probably still judging yourself, your former self, your unawakened self, and going, why did I get here sooner? Why couldn't I have been? Why was I that way? So it's a wonderful teaching opportunity to meet people where they are. And again, recognize it's not for you to decide. So these are some of the signs that you're really making progress on your spiritual path. There are many more signs that your consciousness is transforming. These were just a few. In future videos, I'll talk more about the signs that your consciousness is transforming.